Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Unplugged Live. Just waiting for my colleagues to join and we'll start shortly. Well, meanwhile, thank you to everybody that is starting to watch. We're having here a little delay. Just waiting for my colleagues to join. Hello, Sergio.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Everything's fine. How are you, Lionel?
I'm great. Just trying to get Gabriel over here. Seems like
Facebook is glitching out again.
Yeah, something going on his side.
Yeah, something that unfortunately for all of the people who recently joined the group, unfortunately, Facebook sometimes like to play tricks on us. And sometimes it's a little bit challenging to get all three of us together over here.
Yeah, well, I'm not being able to add Gabriel here for some reason, and well, let's see how this goes. Well, Gabriel might be around for some comments. Of course, it's always important to get his input, but seems like Facebook it's tricking us again from his side. And well, first of all, welcome to all our new members. We are very happy to see people joining our group. Well, for those that don't know me, I'm Leonel Rodrigues. I'm a tour guide and owner of Desirable Portugal Tours. I'm one of the founders of Portugal Unplugged, and I'm based near Lisbon, although I'm always covering, well, the country. So if you see an orange and white VW bus driving around, it might be me. And with me, I have Sergio Costa. He's based at Porto. He's very often around the Douro Valley, so he has some very unique experiences in Douro Valley. He's from Portugal EV Tours, and we should be having Gabriel Lima from GL Tours from the Algarve, but seems like Facebook it's tricking us tonight, so we're not being able to add him. Let's see if I manage to get him on screen again, but seems like well, we are having some technical issues. So well, Sergio, this was a very interesting week. We had a great week in Portugal Unplugged. And of course, there's a lot of well, things to discuss. There's a lot of things that we want to talk about. A little bit of back to the basics. I see a lot of people asking questions about travel planning. I see somehow the same traps sometimes for people planning their travels. So what you want to bring us tonight, and we can start, well, with your thoughts, so then I'll keep going with that. Meanwhile, I keep trying to bring Gabriel on screen.
Yep, sure. So good evening, everyone, and especially good evening to everyone who joined very recently. As you can tell, new year, new life, and we decided to just bring back some of the old topics, the more common ones for people who are planning their first trip to Portugal. And just again, starting with the basics. And over the week, I've been sharing some tips about Porto, places to stay, where to eat, what to eat in Porto, what is the typical and local gastronomy. and also the top attractions of the city, and also a few of the day trips that you can take out of Porto if you use Porto as a base. So those topics, they actually generated quite a bit of interest, and I don't think we ever had such a broad reach as we had with those topics. And so it's great to see that everyone is feeling interested, everyone is getting back to the planning, and for everyone that is coming to Portugal looking to visit for the first time, especially for the first timers, even though the core seems like we're going to have Gabriel.
No, it went
Fin-
out.
Fingers crossed. Well, shows us
Yeah,
joining over here. Well,
showed
no
up but
worries.
went out. But keep going, keep going.
Yeah, we'll keep on trying. So we are going to again go back to the basics, discuss some of these things, some of the local attractions, but most of all, some practical tips about Portugal, and for people who are, well, not well versed in international travel, and some of the general and broader tips that you should take into consideration when you travel abroad, and then also some of the things that are specific to the country. So I give a few topics, a few talking points on the announcement of the live session for today. And so I want to talk a little bit about how to get around, or in general, about the planning. So it doesn't matter for me. This is one of the top tips that I have. If you're looking at visiting Portugal, one of the things that people do frequently is that they want to see several locations. And as you can see, we have two guys over here. The third one is trying to join, Gabriel. And we basically cover the three main areas of the country. North with me, then you have over here with Lionel, you have the central Portugal. And then over here to my side, trying to join, I don't know if it's the same for you, but we have Gabriel covering mostly the Algarve. But even though we say that we are based around these areas, don't be afraid, because we sometimes run throughout the entire country, especially Lionel being based in the center of the country. He can easily go north, he can easily go south. As for me, well, I
Mhm.
sometimes do center, I sometimes do south as well, especially because these are locations that I visit very often as well. I like the center between Porto and Lisbon, but I have a very fond passion about the south, Alentejo and Algarve as well, especially because I have family over there. So my first big tip for people wanting to visit Portugal is figure out where you're flying out of the country. Doesn't matter if you have 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. I always recommend people to leave their final location as a last visiting spot, the place that they're flying out from, because that means that you will not be spending an extra day traveling to your destination, to your airport and whatnot. Let's say, for example, you leave Lisbon as your last visiting spot, but then you're flying out of Porto. Well, maybe I would swap things. I would probably leave Porto for last, and instead of moving out on the final day, you would already be based in Porto. And then from the Porto city center, depending on when your flight is, leaving the Porto city center to get to the airport is something like a 15 to 20-minute taxi or Uber ride. So it's really easy. It's not like you have to travel 3.5 hours to get to Porto, either taking a train or something like that. So this is my very first tip about traveling. And this is valid throughout the country. For the rest, well, it's a bit of what do you want to do? What do you want to see? Do you want to start with the city? Do you want to start a little bit inland? But I would always recommend, as a general rule of thumb, leave your final, the place where you're flying out of Portugal, leave that for last. Can be Lisbon, can be Porto, can even be Faro, for example. And this is also applicable, for example, if you're going to other places, like, for example, you visit mainland Portugal first, but then you're going to Madeira, where you're flying out of Madeira. If you're flying out of Lisbon, for example, then leave Lisbon for last, and then from there you take the plane and you fly to Madeira. If you're flying out of Faro, for example, leave Faro, leave the Algarve for last before flying to Madeira. So these are some of the typical recommendations. Or for example, if you're going to Madeira and then flying back to mainland Portugal to go to any other place, you can start to see where the logistic is being changed. Leave the airport city for last in your trip or during the leg of that trip. Lionel, what about you? Any first tip that you want to share?
Yeah, well, first of all, that tip that you mentioned, it's One of the first things that I recommend when I'm helping people planning the itineraries, when I do some travel planning, the question is exactly that: where do you fly in? Where do you fly out? Because a lot of people don't realize that the logistics to rush out for the airport on the last day, well, if something goes wrong, it's very easy to, well, to compromise the flight back. So in the opposite way of what you just said, one of my regular tips when I'm planning itineraries with someone, it's to make the first travel day, the longest distance. Imagine this. You ended up booking a flight to Lisbon, but you want to visit Porto. Try to make it immediately from Lisbon to Porto on the first day. Either, well, by train, flying, or with a private transfer like the ones that I do very often, with normally with some stops on the way. The reason is simple. The majority of people that fly into Portugal. They come in intercontinental flights, and the majority of those flights arrive in the morning. So if you try to go to your accommodation early in the morning, well, most of the times the rooms are not ready, the B&Bs are not ready, and people end up dragging luggage, trying to figure out what to do, kind of killing time. Okay, I feel that a lot of people end up landing and try to find something just to kill the time before they reach their accommodation. So if you are landing, by example, in Lisbon and you're planning to go to Porto, make it immediately on the first day of your trip. Travel the furthermost that you can, because then you are just coming back towards the place where you live, and it ends up being way less stressful to do it that way because you already covered the major ground. So consider always that the first travel day, it's a travel day. It's really to make the furthest possible on the journey, and then it's just to do some hops in between places to get to the final destination before taking off. So and this lines up with what Sergio was just saying. So planning this helps a lot on the itineraries. And one of the key aspects of planning trips, and I posted something just a couple of hours ago related to that, is optimization. Okay, optimize your travel the best possible way. And by optimizing, it's sometimes just to consider how much time you're going to waste if you just do back and forth, or which is the best way to take the max of your time. And this goes in the line with the post that I just made a few hours ago. It's exactly that. Imagine this. You want to visit in general 3 or 4 different locations in the country, but sometimes I see people planning their travels going back and forth without realizing the time and the distance that they need to cover. So normally, what I recommend is to put all the spots in a map. And if you have some trouble uh, doing this visually on the computer or whatever, okay, imagine that you are printing like in a piece of paper the map of Portugal, and you just with a pencil or with a pen, you just mark up on the map whereabouts each place is. And immediately you understand which is the most logical way to travel between those places, which is the most efficient way between those places. Because, once again, I see a lot of people really putting several places in a row, trying to connect different locations, but then they end up wasting time just by moving back and forth. So the best possible tip to plan an itinerary is to optimize it at the most. That will reduce stress, that will reduce wasted time, and in many cases that will reduce the cost because, well, every time you travel back and forth, that's going to cost money, either by the time that it's spent or by the price itself of that travel. So exactly this. Try always to plan the things kind of in a sequential line, okay, instead of trying to do a circle, unless you fly in and out from the same city. That, okay, circling around makes sense. But if you're flying into one city and flying out of the other city, try to line up things on the most efficient line because that will help a lot during your stay. Well, seems like Gabriel is really not being able to join us, unfortunately. I see his page here trying to add, but not possible.
No worries. We'll
Well,
keep on going.
we,
We'll keep
we'll
on
keep
rapid
on
firing
going,
some.
and well, we'll get the comments of Gabriel. So, Sergio,
Yep. So,
go on.
lining with the things that we just said, you land, you fly out. How do you get around? So, this is the first thing, and we want to cover a few things over here that might make sense, might not make sense. So, car rentals. This is the first one, the big one. A lot of people think and assume that by renting a car, they're going to save some money, but a car doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the entire country. For example, a lot of people think that renting a car can be a great way to go from Porto to from Lisbon to Porto. Usually, most people do this, and yeah, sure, for that drive, it's perfectly fine. But they might do some stops along the way. Cool, that's perfectly fine. But consider this: you're landing in Lisbon. Do you get the car rental right away? Are you getting it over the next couple of days? Are you planning on keeping that car for a long time, or maybe not? I don't know, because there are two places in the country, where, actually a few more, but there are two places in the country where a car doesn't make any sense: Porto and Lisbon. And so, if you rent a car in Lisbon to drive to Porto, and then you're going to spend a couple of days in Porto, and you might think, oh, I might do a few trips out of Porto. The hassle of driving into Porto, out of Porto, getting back to Porto, paying for parking, and the way that the traffic is in the city, I would actually say, and I might be biased in saying this because I'm a guide, but you might actually be better off by just booking a tour, booking an excursion. It doesn't need to be with me, with a good company, a decent company out there. That actually might save you a lot of trouble because the money that you're saving on the rental, you can put that towards a tour. You don't have to pay for parking. You don't have to pay for gas. You don't have to pay for tolls. You don't have to
Mm,
pay for a lot of things. These are the hidden costs of renting a car that most people don't realize. So Porto, Lisbon, two cities where I definitely don't recommend a car. The third location is the Douro Valley, and Lionel already knows why. A lot of people over here already know why. Um, there is one access road to the Douro Valley. You have the National 222, and that is basically the backbone of the valley. If you get out of that main road, you'll find that the roads are going to be extremely curvy, twisty, sometimes poorly maintained. And for people who are not, well, I would say average or above average drivers, those roads can be a little bit scary. I've been going to the Douro Valley because I have a family house over there. It's been in the family for four generations now, so it's over 100-year-old family house. And I've been going over there as long as I remember. And I'll tell you this, even after guiding people to the Douro Valley for the last 8 years, there are some roads at the Douro Valley that even I am still afraid of. And I can't even imagine, I can't even fathom people who are not familiar with these roads trying to do some wine tastings and then the driving. That's actually something that I don't recommend. National 222, if you just want to stick to that backbone, you can be okay-ish. But for people who have been with me, and I know that we have quite a few over here seeing and watching, they say that, well, they know that I usually say the most difficult roads, they often lead to the most beautiful and rewarding destinations. And so the easy to go to, there's actually tour companies where Lionel knows this. Um, the big companies go there because their access road is the only one where they can fit the big bus.
mhm.
So yeah, this is about the car rentals. For the rest, let's say for example, if you want to go to Alentejo, if you want to go down to the Algarve, perfectly fine. In fact, sometimes I do encourage, and even if you have some open days, which is another one of those things, don't plan out everything down to the minute on your itinerary. Leave some days open for improvisation because you might find that you want to see something along that path, or you want to take an extra day over there or something. Then Alentejo, Algarve, definitely places worth having a car. Other options to travel in Portugal. You have buses, Redes Expressos and Flix. and Flixbus are two of the major companies where they have a very capillary network and infrastructure that can take you to pretty much all of the hot spots in the country. Think places like Braga, Guimarães, Viana do Castelo, even Vila Real. So we're talking about secondary cities in this regard. And the train is also very good. It's a very good system, very affordable. And a pro tip over here, if you book your train tickets more than 2 weeks in advance, for some of the routes, you can actually get an up to 40% discount on the fare. So you can book it from 2 months up to the day of your travel date. But if you book it for 2 months in advance down to 2 weeks in advance, you might be eligible for these substantial discounts. So it's not something to overlook, because you can have massive savings on the train tickets over here. Last but not least, well, there's always us guides that we sometimes do these transfers, these itineraries, taking you to these hidden locations, hidden gems, etc. And don't look at hiring a guide, hiring a driver for a day as an expense, because most of the time it can actually become a bit of an investment, because we're going to have the chance to connect throughout the day, and over that connection that we will be forming throughout the day, we will be more than happy and eager to share with you some of the trade secrets that we have, some of the hidden locations that only we know. Think about restaurants, attractions, museums, things that are often overlooked, and sometimes things that we tend to keep just for ourselves because we don't want to spoil it with mass tourism. So it's not going to be, sure, you're gonna, uh, how should I say, it's an investment in the sense that you'll be paying an above average price versus, well, sometimes taking a bus or taking a train. But what you get out of it is going to probably save you quite a bit of money over the course of the next couple of days. So train, bus, cars. Oh, by the way, for the trains, never book through Ninja Rail or what's the other one? You might remember, Lionel, the Rome to Rio.
Yeah,
A lot,
exactly.
yeah, a lot of people look onto those apps, and I'm saying over here I don't have a problem with it, but particularly for the trains, uh, the train company is only obliged to fulfill tickets that are purchased through the official website or
Mhm.
app, cp.pt. Don't get your train tickets for any place else. So this is my tip about transportation. Want to chime in with another one, Lionel?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna pick up where you just well left about well the trains, the buses. They are very efficient. In fact, they work quite well. But beware that certain train stations mentioned as being the train station for some place, they are not in that place. Okay, and two of the most well common examples that come out in they come out very often in questions in the travel groups: train to Nazaré and train to Fatima. Okay. Well, first of all, the train to Nazaré, the line passes right in front of my door. I see the line from where I live. And the train from Lisbon to Nazaré, it almost goes to Sintra, and pretty much you need to switch trains at least once, normally twice, to get to Nazaré from Lisbon by train. It's going to take a long time. And the station, the closest one, it's like 4 kilometers away from Nazaré. You are lucky if you get there and there's a taxi to take you, because you won't find Ubers over there so easily. The same thing with Fatima stations. Okay, the closest station is Caxias, then pretty much 20-minute drive to Fatima. So a lot of people think that they're going to take the train to Fatima, but technically there is no train station at Fatima. And this happens in a few other places. Okay, I'm going to give you the example where I live, the station of Mafra. It's a 10-minute drive from Mafra itself, okay, from the town of Mafra, because the station, it's called Mafra, but it has nothing to do with it. In fact, it's in a valley where until very recently cell phone coverage was terrible. Okay, so sometimes people are caught into situations like this, and I already heard people telling me that they took the train and then they were stranded in the middle of nowhere because they didn't know that the station, in fact, was so far away from the place they wanted to go. I'm just going to go back into something that you were mentioning, and well, these topics we could be here for a long, long time. Yes, Vitor, thank you for mentioning Óbidos. Óbidos, it's another case because the station it's way down on the valley. The station, if we can call that the station. And in fact, there's a steep climb to get into the town itself. Well, thank you for adding that. I'm just going back to the car rental thing, Sergio, with two insights. And this is something that I've been debating very often. It's about the insurances. Okay. I always book cars fully insured. It's more expensive, but it saves me trouble and it ends up saving me money. The biggest complaints about the car rental companies it's that people are returning the car and they are being charged by the tiniest scratch that probably was there but was not marked on the documents when they picked up the car. So of course, the guy inspecting the car on the return will take all the possibilities to make some money with that. They to get all the claims from the deposits and so on and so on. So always rent with full insurance. It's a peace of mind. I remember I was returning a rental van just 3 weeks ago, and there was a lady returning a brand new car. The license plate probably had like a week, and it had a tiny scratch on the mirror, on the side mirror. Okay, and the guy, of course, was already well talking with her about that, and she was taking pictures, and she was not happy with that already because she was being charged by a little scratch that probably well she made or not, we don't know. Um, then the other thing, and you were mentioning Lisbon to Porto, and I'm going to use this as a, well an example, but it's valid for almost every different location of drop off. The extra costs, okay? The extra costs. Don't ever think on renting a car in Portugal and dropping off in Spain, because you will be charged a huge amount of money because they will need to ship the car back by truck. They cannot rent the car in Spain to be brought back to Portugal, or they need to have someone to drive it back. So that is a cost that they, of course, they're going to charge to someone that wants to rent it that way. And then there's the other thing. Certain vehicles in a one-way rental, they can be crazily expensive because the companies really don't want them to be dropped off in different stations. And I'm talking normally about SUVs and nine-seater vans. Those vehicles, very rarely the car rental companies want them to be dropped in a different location. The reason is simple. They have a very limited number of units available on each station, so they don't want those cars to be dropped somewhere else, and then they will end up having a less inventory, less fleet available to rent. I remember in one of our Unplugged lives, last year, I think, or several months ago, that I was making an example. A one-way rental of a van was being quoted at 900 euros from Lisbon to Porto. For 900 euros, probably less than that, you can get a transfer with a guide that will stop in different places and will tell you a lot more about the country, and of course, as you said, share some secrets. Because the 900 euros of the van, you need to add tolls, you need to add fuel, and all the stress of someone driving, trying to find out directions. So sometimes the one-way rentals will cost so much that there are other options that end up being way more effective, financially. So these are really just to complement what you were saying, some of my tips. Now about locations to drive. Well, there is one that it's critical, and a lot of people still insist on driving there. It's Sintra. Don't ever think to drive a rental car to Sintra. Unfortunately, that's the reality because it's an old town. It's not prepared for the heavy traffic. I see people doing the most, I would say, strange things over there. Creative parking, it's everywhere. And then, of course, it's so crowded sometimes that people don't move at all, and it ends up being stressful. And this is another thing. The time that it takes to try to go to a place not knowing the ins and outs, the nooks and crannies, and really the secrets of the trade on how to move around or how to optimize the journey in a certain place ruins the journey. And I see a lot of people trying to reach, and once again mentioning Sintra, buy a rental car, and they get frustrated. Okay, families just wasted a whole day trying to get to Sintra with a rental car, and they end up seeing nothing because they were stuck in traffic, and then they missed the turn, and they need to go on a detour of 15 kilometers. Okay, so that's the reality, and in a very specific case. By the way, I have several videos on my YouTube channel, Desirable Portugal YouTube channel, about Sintra. So to help people to know how to move around, or some of the best picks over there, or well, a little. I try to share a little bit of the do's and don'ts, because it's a very popular attraction, but it's not really rental car friendly, and people really need to know how to move around over there. So about this, I just wanted to add these kind of things. Now, a few more tips, and I'm going to go into a different subject. A lot of people want to come to Portugal, and they want to well, exchange money over here, or they want to bring currency from their origin. It has been widely discussed in online groups. The majority of the debit and credit cards are accepted in Portugal, mainly if you use like something connected to the Visa or MasterCard networks. American Express used here and there, Chase, Sapphire, well, Wise, Revolut, and so on. Well, they work in many places, okay? But in fact, everything that is connected to Visa and MasterCard normally works fine in our ATMs, in our network. But there's always a glitch. There is a widely known ATM network called Euronet, that it's pretty much a private network of ATMs that, of course, make money from the fees that they charge. Those are the ATMs to avoid. And on all the others, normally the multi-banco ones marked with MB, you can be offered to decline the conversion, and that's what you should do, decline the conversion twice. It kind of will trigger an alert saying, are you sure we don't certify this conversion. This is all on your risk. Yes, take that. Okay, decline the conversion twice. But now there's the other glitch. There's a new software that says accept without conversion, and you should that twice as well. Should do that twice as well. The reason is simple. If you accept the conversion that the local bank is offering you, you might be charging between 10-12% of markup on your money. So that's a lot. That's a lot of money. Okay. And pretty much you can withdraw euros, and the majority of the ATMs in Portugal. Just beware of these little things. And you can arrive at the airport, you can withdraw euros, and the multi-banco ATMs at the airport, okay, they won't charge you more because they are at the airport. They are multi-banco, they are a national network. Of course, you have some Euronet right next to them, quite disguised. But if you really know where to go, check for the multi-banco one, so you don't need to carry a huge sum of money with you. And in fact, you don't need to have a lot of money with you while traveling around. I was just recently reading some news of some wallet that had been found with 1,100 euros on the wallet. It's kind of unthinkable to see that, or to have that amount of money in a wallet over here, okay? You can easily go and withdraw like 200 or 300 that you probably have well, enough cash for a few days, and you don't need to be doing big withdrawals to carry with you a lot of money. Portugal is a very safe country, but sometimes distractions happen, or the wallet just falls on the floor and you don't notice. So this is, well, another set of tips for people that just land in Portugal and of course try to figure out where to get some local currency. Sergio, what next?
Okay, we're going to once again run over a little bit of our time limit. We
As
usually
usual.
do 30 minutes, but well, given that we have plenty of new members, I'd say that today it's well worth it. I'm just going to compliment something that you just said about the money, withdrawing money. Yes, absolutely. Use the multi-banco network. Avoid the Euronet. Euronet is usually yellow and blue, and then multi-banco is usually blue and white. So yellow, it's bad. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the conversion rate, always keep in mind this. When it's about money, always say no. That's it. That's something that I heard from another guy that one of the wineries that I go to, and he says that while he was living abroad, his parents they were like, when it comes when someone asks you questions about your money, the answer is always no. So the same thing over here: decline conversion rate twice, decline. Just say no on the ATM, etc., etc., or in the hand terminals for automatic payments. There are some limits, however, when you're withdrawing money. So you can withdraw from one card a maximum of 400 euros per day, and you have to do it twice because the maximum withdrawal amount per operation is 200 euros. So you can withdraw 200 euros twice per day per card. And 400 euros, I would say that it's more than enough to have on you pretty much for the duration of your trip. Well, you're going to be buying a few things, going to those little restaurants where they only accept cash. So that's the reason why it's always good to have some money. But the thing that I want to touch base upon right now, it's actually some packing trips because I have been seeing a lot of people. They come to Portugal, they actually enjoy our gastronomy. They enjoy most more than our gastronomy. They end up enjoying our wines as well. Then there's all these cork items and souvenirs, gifts that they want to bring back home and whatnot. And people usually, when they arrive to Portugal, they already are fully packed with. Uh, well, Vitor Paes, I stayed with that guy 3 days ago. Yeah, we know who it is. But yeah, the about packing, I always say, even though it might seem that the airline carriers have very strict limits and whatnot, first of all, try to downsize a little bit. Try to leave some extra room in your luggage, precisely to pack all of these souvenirs that you'll be bringing back home with you. So this is the first one. The second one, if you're considering, well, I might need some clothes, I might need these shoes, I might need this and that and whatnot. Regarding shoes, there is one answer for the entire Portugal: sneakers. Okay, we don't care what you're wearing as far as shoe goes, and trust me, you're going to be walking a whole lot while over here in the country. Some cobblestone streets, some rough terrain, even if it is some flat streets or and whatnot, just because of the sheer distance that you'll be walking throughout the days. It's very common that a person in Porto walks something like 15 kilometers per day, and it's a somewhat hilly city. So we're talking 10 miles per day. So you want to be comfortable. Sneakers are the way to go. Pack one or two pairs, and you should be good with that. And as for clothing, you can actually buy it for very cheap over here. I mean, we have Zara, we have Primark, we have H&M, we have plenty of clothing stores. But more than that, we also have our traditional clothing stores, particularly the linen, which is something that is very appreciated over here in Portugal. So make sure to have some space in your luggage for that. And if you find that you want to take the souvenirs home with you and then you can't fit everything in your bag, well, consider donating some of your clothing items over here in Portugal. So this is something that can also be done over here. So we have everything that you might need and then some. But then there's always these suggestions that, well, donate something, leave something behind. It's entirely up to you. So, but yeah, packing. So my biggest advice would be focus on your shoe wear, focus on getting some sneakers. It's going to be very important for you over here. Don't worry about the fancy dinner and just packing a pair of shoes, of fancy shoes, just for that fancy dinner that you might have. Chances are people won't even look at your shoes during that dinner. And most of the time, you're going to be sitting at a table with your feet under the table. And so people are definitely not going to notice your shoes. So this is about packing, about the clothing that you should bring. Well, weather over here in Portugal, it's somewhat volatile, I would say. Sure, we have the four seasons. Right now over here in Porto, it's been overcast the entire day with a few showers here and there. I imagine that down in Lisbon it's a little bit better. And then Gabriel down in the Algarve will probably be enjoying some sun over there. So the way to do it over here is be versatile and have multiple layers available. Some t-shirts, some long sleeves, a couple of sweatshirts, a coat. This is what you might need to just go through the entire country over here because you never know what kind of weather you're gonna experience. There are a few places, well, like for example, at the Douro Valley, we have a saying about the climate of the valley. We are very fond of saying that we have 9 months of winter and 3 months of hell over there. So sunscreen is also going to be a big thing, especially if you're traveling during the summertime. When I say 3 months of hell at the Douro Valley, I really mean it because the temperatures over there, they can reach 115 Fahrenheit. So plan accordingly. Water, sunscreen, it's going to be very, very important. But look at the weather forecast of the regions that you'll be visiting, and you're going to see that maybe for the night you're going to need an extra layer or two, but throughout the day you might be very comfortable with just a t-shirt and shorts. I remember this. I don't recall if it was last year or 2 years ago, but I remember meeting a couple in downtown Porto. They dressed according to what the weather was like in Porto, which was not very sunny. It was a little bit milder and cooler. And we were traveling to the Douro Valley. And my first reaction upon meeting them was, you guys are way overdressed for the day that we're about to have today. And yeah, the temperature at the valley reached all the way up to 90-ish something Fahrenheit at the valley. So they were surprised by meeting me. I was already wearing shorts, and they were with pants and jackets and whatnot. And they were like, by the time that we got out of the car at the valley, they were like, "You were right. We definitely overdressed quite a bit today." But it was a fantastic day nonetheless. So yeah, weather, layers, shoes, sneakers, and and for packaging, well, try to leave some extra room in your luggage for all of the souvenirs that you'll be getting over here in Portugal. The Barcelos rooster, the wine, sometimes the canned sardines, a couple of bottles of sometimes even olive oil. It's very popular over here, but that won't spoil too much on all of the good stuff that we have over here. Lionel, one final one?
Yeah, well, you were talking about packing, and I just want to mention this. A lot of people think on bringing their, small electric appliances, equipment, whatever. You need to be aware that the sockets, the plugs, the voltage, they are different in here from different countries. By example, UK uses a 3-pin connector that you cannot find. That in here you need to use an adapter, okay, but the voltage is the same. But some countries use 110 volts, and we are using 220. And sometimes people buy just a little adapter, a little a converter for the pins, and they plug the equipment in, and they just toast it immediately. Well, unless it's something very unique or sentimental or specific, okay? Stuff like hair dryers, curling irons, shaving machines, whatever. They are easily bought in the majority of the electric stores in here at a very reasonable price. Keep in mind it's something that it's going to be used for like a week or two. And it's not worth to bring all that stuff on the suitcases, on the luggage, because if you're bringing stuff from home, you'll need to haul it back home again, unless unfortunately it just breaks down over here. But the majority of that stuff can easily be bought in here, okay? And those are the little things that even if people just discard them on the way out, or they are in the hotel and they ask from someone from the staff if anyone wants to keep that, they can give that away for someone from the staff or whatever, because for sure they will find someone that will have some usage for it. But it's cheap stuff, okay? You can buy a reasonable hair dryer for 30-40 euros. That kind of stuff, it's probably not worth to bring all the stuff on the luggage, and then probably they will end up failing over here because the voltage is different, the connector is different. And I see a lot of people bringing just plug adapters, but they don't do voltage conversion, or if it's something with a high consumption, they cannot convert all the power needed for those electric items. The majority of the electronics now, like laptops or phones or such, it has become more universal with the chargers and that kind of thing. But even so, well, it's better to be aware if they will be compatible or you need to buy something in advance to convert that. But in general, if it's something that it's just to use for a couple of weeks, on the arrival, go to one of the major supermarket chains or some electronic store. They are a bit everywhere, and just buy something to use during the trip, because it's something that takes a lot of room on the luggage, and it's probably not worth just to haul that around. And talking about packing, the secret is always to bring the essential and not to overpack. So this is something that I really believe, that it's a bit overpacking to bring all those items in here. The same applies to sunscreens, lotions, those kind of things. We have most of the major brands available everywhere, sometimes at better prices that people are used to, unless it's something for like first need or really to use on the very first or second day that people are still trying to find their bearings where they're going to buy this or that. It's not easy to bring all the extra stuff because the majority of the items can be found over here, and even the supermarkets that have their own brands or their low cost brands, they have good stuff in general. So keep in mind, it's just for a couple of weeks, it's for vacation, and the hassle of bringing all that stuff in and out will end up making you bring a bigger suitcase that you end up dragging around. So optimizing it's key as well regarding this. So just to finalize your tip about packing, I wanted to leave this over here.
Yeah, regarding the hair dryers and whatnot, the hair dryer, from what I've been seeing in the hotels that I've been staying as of late, they all have air dryers. They all supply air dryers. If you need a
Hmm.
voltage converter and if you're staying at the hotel, chances are that if you ask in the lobby, they will have a voltage
They might
converter
have, yeah.
that they can help you with. So you're pretty much covered. And nowadays, most of our gadgets are powered by USB, USB-A, USB-C, etc. So
Hmm.
if you already have a one of those, I always have one with me, a travel charger. Uh, Chances are, look at the label on the travel charger, look at the input voltage, and if it says 100 to 240, then you don't even need a voltage converter. The only thing that you need is going to be the adapter. So always look at the input voltage of your electronics to see if it's compatible. This is mostly useful for people who are traveling, particularly from the US all the way to Europe. Again, US 110, over here 220, 230 volts. So before packing them, look at just at the label, and it takes you 5 seconds to spot the input voltage. If it says 110 to 240, you're safe. You just need the adapter. And if you're staying at the hotel, and some of the Airbnbs, they also have that. So it's a no-brainer. And if you don't have them, well, you can easily find them, as you said, in electronic stores. They are very abundant over here. They are very cheap as well. It's probably is cheaper to buy it over here than it is to bring it with you on the plane, just because of the sheer
Exactly.
space that it takes on. It's not much, but you're paying for that premium space, which can in your luggage, which can be a souvenir that you won't be bringing back home at the end of your trip. So
Yeah,
something to consider.
one hair dryer brought here, two less bottles of wine brought back home.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
Sergio, to finish,
well, to finish, just as I was looking over here at the things that I wanted to cover, the Portuguese etiquette, I'll just say this, the obrigado, it's pretty much universal. Everyone knows about it when we come over here. I just want to say the three things that are the best, that are going to open a lot of doors for you over here in Portugal. Please, it's por favor, obrigado, which is thank you. Just a quick note on this one. A lot of people ask this. There's obrigado and there's obrigada. I'm a guy, I'm going to say obrigado. A girl will be saying obrigada. Okay. And I also like to put it in this very comical fashion. If I'm a guy and I am saying obrigada, then that is definitely going to raise a few eyebrows to whoever is listening. So these are the two. So please and thank you. They're going to open 90% of the doors. And if you're sitting at the table and you're going to be poor, and if you are going to have some wine for lunch, people will ask you, do you want red or do you want white? The answer is cheio, always full. Okay, so always a
Exactly.
full glass.
Yeah.
So this is it. If you know these three things, you're pretty much set over here in Portugal. But yeah, there's going to be a few more things over here. For a lot of people who know a little bit of Spanish, you'll find the similarities, particularly when it's written. But then when it's spoken, that's when people have a little bit more difficulty. But don't worry, a lot of people speak good English over here. In fact, you'll be very hard pressed to find someone that doesn't speak English or another language over here in Portugal. And even if we have to just make signs, I'm pretty sure that we will make ourselves understood over here in the country, and you'll have a great time. It's very easy to visit over here, unless you go to the central Portugal, where we have a more elderly population where they only speak Portuguese. That is advanced Portugal. That's a different topic.
Mhm.
Uh, that we will probably be covering in the coming weeks when we start easing the new members into the unplugged spirit of
Yep.
Portugal. So, from my end, this was a pleasure having you all here. I hope you've enjoyed this little chat. Lionel,
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining. We've been having, well, quite active comments over here, so it's always great. Well, thank you, Sergio, once again for joining. Unfortunately, Gabriel, well, for technical issues, couldn't be here, but he's been commenting. And we are here to answer the questions. We are here to help planning the travels in Portugal. What we really want is to have people to get back home and saying we had an incredible journey in Portugal. It was totally worth it. And well, Portugal Unplugged, it's about that. So some hidden gems, some little secrets, well, some special spots, but of course, well, the travel 101 to Portugal, because it makes all sense to help people to plan the best journey in here. Thank you for
so
watching. Well,
yeah.
I see you back on Monday.
Yeah, we
We'll be
just
back
have
next
over here
Monday.
a little comment from Nina. So I
Yes.
want to touch on this topic. I have been learning Portuguese for a couple of months, and I thought I said obrigado to a woman, obrigado to a woman, and obrigado to a man. It's actually the opposite. But in this regard, ladies actually have a little bit more liberties than the guys do. Ladies can say obrigado or obrigada. There's not a problem with it, although the correct way would be saying obrigada. The a man saying obrigado, sorry, obrigada, that is going to be a little bit more suspicious. Just the way that we Portuguese over here see it. And then we also have over here Pat asking, well, is that olive oil or wine in the cabinet behind me? Well, this is actually wine and a few trinkets that I have over here. And I actually do have a bottle over here that I want to show you. Let me see if I can get this open. Lionel knows what this is. Vitor also knows, and we have a few guys over here. Can read it, Lionel? Muscatel do Douro,
Oh
Rosemary
yeah.
Muscatel.
Oh yeah.
So it's I like to call it, it's the Porto wine that cannot be called Porto wine. There's two regions over here in the country that produce this. This one is from the Douro. There's also the other region in Setúbal, which also
Mhm.
produces Muscatel, which is currently the bottle that I have open in the fridge right now. So I'm saving this one. And yeah, but I can tell you more about this in one of our next episodes. Okay. So once again, thank you all for joining. I hope you've enjoyed this back to basics about Portugal. And well, hope to see you again over here next week. And that you all have a great week.
Well, also from my side, I want to thank everybody. I'm just mentioning for mostly for the new members, this video will be posted on our YouTube channel, Portugal Unplugged. Um, Facebook only allows us to leave the videos over here for 30 days, but we've been posting them on the YouTube. So if you want to check some of our older Unplugged lives, our YouTube channel, Portugal Unplugged, has the videos posted over there. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Sergio, once again. So
Yeah, thank you.
I wish you a great week, and we'll be back on Monday. Thank you. Bye.
Yep. See you. Have a great week.
Thank you.